Ask Reddit by Dr. Teach. What's the story behind your first breakup? It's funny how hindsight is 20/20. I remember ignoring my gut feeling and staying in a relationship because we were perfect on paper. We had similar backgrounds, career paths aligned, and everyone thought we were the couple to beat. But deep down, we were more like best friends playing house than romantic partners. When she confessed she'd developed feelings for a guy she met at a conference, as much as it stung, it wasn't a shock. We ended things amicably, and honestly, I learned a lot about being true to myself. Now, I know a perfect checklist doesn't mean a perfect relationship. It was a tough pill to swallow at the time, but it definitely shaped the way I approach relationships now. Dude was asked out by a different girl and he went straight to her. Came back to me 2 weeks later after our breakup and I told him to F off lol. Very similar story on my end as well lol. Never had one. Started dating at 16. Dated the same girl for 6 years. Married after college graduation. We just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary. Secret: marry your best friend. Who else do you want to hang with the rest of your life? If only my best friend and I didn't break up. My first real GF was awesome, but she wasn't going to college. Late 1980s. All my friends thought she would be a loser, so talked me into dumping her. I was 17-18. She was in the cool crowd, but she smoked and my friends said smokers were losers. Now she is a small-time real estate magnate, and her kids are playing D1 sports. It is what it is. We still talk and love each other. We had an abortion, but it all makes me sad I caved into peer pressure because she smoked. Well, maybe if she was in a relationship with you she would have followed and accommodated you and your college career, and never have become who she is now. Maybe you did her a favor after all. We went to different middle schools. I wrote her a long text message breaking up with her nicely and sent it to her, then the next day mentioned it to our mutual friends. I must have sent it to the wrong number. She ended up hearing about my text from our friends and called me confused that night. Not my best look. He cheated on me with my best friend and ended up getting her pregnant. We were in 6th grade at the time and we are now in 11th grade. 6th grade as in 12 years old? I was a teenager and thought I was in love. My BF at the time started getting into trouble and doing drugs, etc. I didn't want to be involved or stray down that path. I chose to leave him, even though it was hard after 1.5 years together. We just grew apart. It happens, especially in high school. She dumped me, but we remained friends 4 years afterwards. She's since passed away. It was my first serious relationship and in hindsight I wasn't yet mature enough to be in one, and I'm sure she got exasperated with me at times, but was kind enough never to say so. Still, nothing but fond memories. She died. Not sure we were actually a couple yet, but we were close. It did break my heart. He said he doesn't love me anymore, so I just left. Happens to me every time, except the first one, though I only date women. It's crazy out there y'all. Sometimes it boggles my mind how people can be together for years and years and years and never get left by their partner. He was childish and such a big liar. I was in 6th grade. She called me from the skating rink to tell me she was breaking up with me because someone else asked her out there and she hung out with him all night and had fun. My mom said I couldn't go because we were doing a family movie night at home. She broke up with me, never figured out why. But it doesn't really matter. I hope she's happy. She went back to her ex-boyfriend and said her family pressured her into it. She wanted a career, I wanted a career. We both pursued our work goals instead of relationship goals. We were both 7 or 8 and thought that if two people of the opposite gender were friends, they were a couple. First one was a 12-year-old relationship, was my high school GF and married her. Unfortunately we didn't grow together. She matured quicker than me, which I knew was my fault. We ended up doing a divorce on mutual grounds. Last time I spoke to her she was doing well, which I'm happy for her. He tried to rip my head off because I asked him to stop loaning my stuff to other people without asking. Fortunately, there was no damage to my trachea. Unfortunately, there was permanent damage to the vertebrae in my neck, so 25 years later, I still remember him every time I try to look to the left. I am so sorry you had to go through that. Hopefully he had consequences for doing it, and you are doing okay now. In HS we were at the beach with friends. I walked up to him and said I think we should break up, and left with our friends while he walked home in the rain. He is today one of my closest friends, lol. Freshman year of college in a city. This was in the 90s, before the internet was big, before mentalities of people were really divided into liberal and conservative like they are today. She was raised Baptist as a fundamentalist, I was an atheist. She really didn't have a concept of a person being an atheist, had literally never met one before. I knew of religious people, obviously, but really had no concept of fundamentalist beliefs. It was honestly just a little too much for both of us. She went back and forth believing I was damned to hell eternally. I kept trying to point out just weird that logic was, which proved futile. One minute she was telling me we were soulmates. The next, she was fucking another guy and dumping me. I found it all intense and weird and distant, like I was an external observer. High school relationship, lasted 2 years. She had a whole lot of issues, a crazy family, poor self-esteem, strongly religious. I was controlling, selfish, gaslit her all the time. Teenager maturity plus big ego and no idea WTF I was doing. Eventually, I caught feelings for another girl and we broke up. We were honestly not good for each other, and on top of that I was definitely a pretty terrible partner. Fast forward 10 years, she's now happily married with a stable career and a kid on the way, and I'm depressed, obese, and directionless with no career, a pile of debt, a degree I don't know what to do with, and a shitty dead-end job. She's still the only person I've ever dated. I was 16. It was a girl from my work. We hung out a few times, blah, blah blah. My friends and I were going to Boston for a concert, so after our shift together, I told her I would call her when we got to Boston, and she said you don't have to, and walked away. He went to Mexico during the summer for a month and went to location where they won't have service. Didn't tell me when he landed in a place where they had service for a week and decided to break up with me, but in a slow and painful way, saying like, can you stop saying I love you, this and that, all through text. Told him if he was breaking up with me, he said yes, and he has been feeling like that for a whole. I was heartbroken while he was like and leaving comments on other girls' posts. We were together for 2 years and never told me how he felt when I was moving schools. We did try to get together and he was a different person.